ladies and gentlemen, CPS Boxing Us In is proud to present one of the professional boxers from Cuatla, Morelos, Mexico, and we started this year 2025 with the one and only Teresa Ramos. How you doing? Welcome to to over here to this interview. How you feeling? And by the way, Happy New Year 2025.
Thank you, and happy New Year's to everyone. I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling happy and motivated to start this 2025 with a lot of fights, and I feel just thrilled for everything that is coming on this 2025. And thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to me. It's an honor always to support women's boxing, and when it comes to support women's boxing, I think it's amazing how now all of you ladies perform, bringing excitement. Recently over here in New York City, I interview the icon and great Mexican champion Juan Manuel Marquez, and he just told me, it's amazing how all of you ladies bring excitement in every fight, including the past fight and the recap. Um, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, that we're gonna talk about soon in a few moments of that fight and the recap of 2024. But first thing first, let's start with you. Um, Teresa, tell me, what motivates you? What was the motive in order to enter in the sport of boxing? How you became a boxer? What's your story on it?
Yeah, well, this is a dream because, to be honest, I never expect this to happen, and to me, it still feels like I'm dreaming. I started boxing because I like the sport. My grandfather used to tell me, and he told me how to jump the rope and stuff like that. I remember watching the fights every Saturday with him, and then when he passed away, I just had the aim to make him feel proud from heaven. And I continue practicing, I continue determined, non stopping with the discipline until I finally got a proposal for a professional debut, and I took it. So from now on, I'm a professional boxer, and I'm just aiming to become the best one in my weight.
Awesome. I mean, basically from your area. I mean, there's another name there, and there's, and right now doesn't come in my mind the other name, but I'm pretty sure it will be, and I apologize for that. But one name that I just told you out of the camera is Tanya Purchase. Also a professional boxer. Um, and not only that, there's an coach with her name is Lidney Betancourt that I want to send a huge shout out for her, and also Tanya Purchase. And right now for the other fighter that my mind doesn't come the name on it, and I gotta say excuse me, because I just recently came out from a cold. I was kind of sick, but I'm here to do this interview, and basically, an apologies for right now. The other name doesn't come in my mind, but basically, I'm gonna, write it down once I edited the interview and everything like that. But what does it make you feel when you hear, names like Tanya Purchase yourself? And if I'm not mistaken, there's another fighter, like I said, in your local area that you ladies are now launching and making expose, women's boxing in your area.
Well, it feels like a huge responsibility because I receive quite a few messages of girls that get inspired by us. I am also inspired by Tanya Purchase because I see her as a very determined woman. And me, myself, I also want to be that inspiration for girls who think that it is not possible, to demonstrate that it is possible if you have an aim, if you keep pursuing your goal, and if you work hard. So, yes, it's a responsibility, but also a big privilege to be a pioneer in my area.
It's awesome to hear, your thoughts, because eventually, all of you ladies are the future of boxing, working hard for your dreams, conquering and achieving your goals. Every female athlete going in a different way, because I know Tanya Purchase is a different weight class, and I know yourself, you fighting in the lightweight division where I remember Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano brought an excitement in the first fight, And now this second fight that we had, before the 2024 year ended up, what's your thoughts when you hear women's boxing, and especially these two names? And with all due respect to many women's boxing, many champions out there, but these two women's have, performed and launched, for me, and I guess, I said it with all due respect to anyone out there, to the whole world, that women's boxing can, bring great excitement in boxing and can fill it up the stadiums like they did it over here in New York City, like MSG. And now they went to Texas, and I heard, like, was it yesterday, I think, that they were trying to make the third fight. What's your thoughts when you hear women's boxing now? They're bringing this type of fights for the audience.
Oh my word, it's just crazy because I think that women's fights should receive more support. I know that these kind of fights don't sell as much as the men's one because, of course, because of the spectators. But I think that now with these kind of fighters like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, people are noticing that we women are fighters, that we go straight to our aim. Now that you mention it, yes, this fight was very crucial in my professional debut because my opponent was left-handed. So I studied a lot. I learned a lot from that fight from Amanda Serrano. And wow, it's going to be really exciting to see that third rematch, Amanda versus Katie Taylor. And cross fingers because I would like to see Amanda Serrano as the winner, I gotta say.
Well, eventually, like I told, every fight fan and every boxer out there, regardless, who wins and who loses. I mean, but we're gonna discuss a little bit of that, from Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, a little bit. These two women, they are like machines. So many punches, and especially Amanda Serrano, like the type of heart, the type of, encouragement that she has in order to step forward and then don't quit the fight. And we just, everyone witnessed that, what a cut in her eyebrow, and that was something that, maybe any other coach would have stopped the fight. But the coach decided, and maybe Amanda Serrano decided too, what, I'm a fighter, I want to fight, I want to continue, I want to end it up, the fight. So what's your thoughts when you see these type of women's like that, and especially Amanda Serrano in this case, that, eventually we saw, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor second fight.
Well, Amanda Serrano, first of all, is a huge inspiration. I aim to have at least some of her style because she's very upfront. And the fact that she decided to keep on with the fight, even though, or despite that cut, is just amazing. It's thrilling because that shows people that she is a fighter, that women can be fighters, and also how courageous her boxing style is.
Exactly. I mean, my respect for Amanda Serrano, because I seen her, how she trains, how she fights, live. And also my respect also goes for Katie Taylor, another, human machine that eventually, unstoppable, fighter that throws a lot of punches and all that, but nothing, what was your thoughts when you hear the results, and after, the fight was finished, who you saw as a winner, Kate Taylor, Amanda Serrano, as a draw, or there was a particular win? I mean, with all due respect to Katie Taylor, they announced her as a winner, but so many people. I just interviewed Juan Manuel Marquez, and he told me, in my eyes, I saw Amanda Serrano winning that fight. But anyway, besides of that, that was a great fight. But yesterday, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they announced that it's another third fight that probably on 2025 it will come. So we just, we expecting, that type of news. So what was your thoughts? I mean, tell us your thoughts. Who do you see as a winner on this fight? Even though we have a winner, with all due respect to Katie Taylor.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, it's important to take in mind that professional boxing it's totally different than amateur or Olympic. We don't count points as we do in amateur. So boxing at the end is appreciation, And according to my appreciation, I think that that result should have been in favor to Amanda Serrano's, or the least a draw. But I didn't see that it was a total one for Katie Taylor, although she did a very good job as well. I didn't like some of the head punches, but at the end, it's appreciation. It's part of surviving in the ring and applying all the techniques. And of course, I think that it will be fair enough to have a third rematch. So it will be the final proof of who is the real winner in that lightweight.
Of course, and I cannot wait for that type, type of fight, because only like I always tell everyone, time will speak, time will tell, when is this gonna fight be announced, and where it's gonna happen, and what weight class they're gonna meet each other, because I'm pretty sure, um, that's another incredible fight that it's coming ahead, because women's boxing, like I said, is bringing so much excitement and contribute a lot of for the sports. You as a professional boxer that you're seeing right now, these women's that eventually they are the top, and as an elite fighters also, what's your thoughts when you see now women's, they they join in more the sport of boxing, and not only that, a lot of sports. What's your thoughts on it?
It's a privilege to live in this um in these times, because fighters as Jackie Nava, La Barbie Juarez, they really had a hard job, because female boxing was not as well accepted as it is now. I think that now it's easier, although no easy, but it's easier than before. And I feel that this is a huge privilege, because it's easier to find sponsors. Although, of course, at the end, it's difficult. We got to do our job and demonstrate our technique. But I feel that it's a huge privilege that there is this openness to this boxing world for women.
I totally agree with you. Not long ago, I spoke with Jessica Kika Chavez, that I want to send a huge shout out also for, because she's on 2025 being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and she deserves that, I mean, another great fighter, another pioneer of Mexico. And she was telling me, on, also that when they used to fight, they used to do it probably for free, in order to gain fights, in order to also, give an excitement to the audience, and nothing. But now time has changed, and she says to me, I remember in the interview, she says, I'm glad that now, like you mentioned, women's are getting more sponsors, in order to support, their careers. Women's are getting a little bit more pay. And I spoke with Juan Manuel Marquez. I said, Juan Manuel Marquez, what's your thoughts when you see women's boxing right now, that they is still in the show? Let's say, there are certain fights, and also Juan Manuel Marquez, it was a he was making a remark in some type of, events, like when you see one fight in women's, and probably, not to disrespect the men's, and everything like that, but Juan Manuel Marquez says sometimes, the show, women's boxing will steal the show and will save that night. And sometimes it's ungrateful that these women, they don't get paid, enough. So I asked Juan Manuel Marquez, what's your thoughts when you hear, like, they still getting, paid little less than men's? So Juan Manuel Marquez answer me, that's the only fact that we have to change over here, and we have to contribute with those fighters that eventually they still in the show, and we need to address that, in order that these women can get paid a little bit more. Because listen, all of you ladies work harder, all of you ladies perform. Some of you, I say it with all due respect, they're mothers, single mothers. Some of them are married, some of them they got children and all of that, and they're still, going out there, to do their job and everything like that. And for getting paid less, I think that's unworth it. But Juan Manuel Marquez says, we have to address that, and hopefully little by little that thing is being changing. And I think it's changing, because Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor has put, their names there, being the voices of, listen, women's boxing, they have to do, a little bit more. They have to support, women's boxing. And for that, What's your thoughts when you hear that now women's boxing can contribute more in the sports?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree because we are taking our chances and not wasting them. We know that now we have the opportunity to show the world that women can also be good fighters, good athletes, and I think that it's a great privilege to receive more and more support, and hopefully, in few next years we can receive the equal support as men do. Because not to add that also, being a woman and being an athlete, I think that, in my perspective, it's harder than for men because we have to struggle with the hormonal changes and still keep fighting. So I see that yes, as Juan Manuel Marquez said, we must receive more support, and I thank God that that is happening, and hopefully it improves.
There you go, and hopefully it happens, because I'm gonna be here also, making that type of question to promoters and other people in order that all of you, one day, you reach that goal in order that women's can get paid more, women's can get better things. And I'm pretty sure, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor and other boxers, they're being the pioneers and the voices of many, many, many women's boxers out there all around the world. And I think it's great when we see women's, they staying strong. And I said it, women's boxing came to stay. So and it's not gonna leave, and it's getting better and better. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna bring a lot of excitement when it comes to this and to the sport of boxing. Talking about the sport of boxing, not long ago we saw the performance of Jaime Munguia against a French guy, Bruno. What was your thoughts when you see the outcome that eventually no one was expecting that Bruno would do that against Jaime Munguia, and everything turned around, and the night was off, and like it was over for Jaime Munguia and that night. So it was shocking the world and everything like that. So what was your thoughts when you saw that type of fight, Jaime Munguia versus Bruno?
My word, it was really tough to digest because I I admired Mungia when I saw his fight against Canelo. Although I thought that probably Canelo respect him a bit during that fight, and I had high expectations on Mungia in this last fight, but I think that it was okay. It was okay because we as boxers must learn that the decision is not final until it is final. So we must perform our job and taking into consideration guard, the consistency of the jabs, everything that involves boxing must be proved at the time of the fight. And I see that Mungia lost it for a while, and that's when the knockout came for him.
I think it was something that eventually I share the same thoughts as I was watching that fight, and I share the thoughts of Crystal Jerry, because I feel like Jaime Munguia wanted to finish, Bruno in the first rounds, like throwing everything against, and Bruno, he was doing his job, covering, covering, covering until finally he saw the spot and
Exactly.
throw the correct punch and ended up the night. So sometimes people, I mean, I seen on social media that they said it, the referee counted it too quickly, but in my opinion he did his job. In my opinion, um Jaime Munguia wasn't good on once he got up, because you could tell. And if people once ask me to go and review again the video, I can tell that Jaime Munguia, he don't know where he has to walk. So when you see a fighter
Exactly.
like that, to me it's a little dangerous, because you could feel that he's not in his five sense. And God forbid if you let continue that fight going, something bad might happen. So we don't want to see none of that, in the sports or
No.
boxing, and not even in any sport. But I think Jaime Munguia rushed in order to finish Bruno, And not only that, like Jaime Munguia says, congratulations to Bruno Surasa, because he went out there as an underdog. He never underestimated Jaime Munguia. Even in social media, he mentioned, I know I'm going against, him, all odds against him. I'm coming on his hometown, but I think that
Right.
motivated more of him. And what's your thoughts right now, seeing the result as Bruno just won against Jaime Munguia? I mean, right now it's a red flag right there, because eventually in that division is McCumby, it's Caleb Plant, it's Chris Eubank Jr., it's even Edgar Berlanga right there. What's your thoughts if we in the future might see probably Mexico versus Puerto Rico, Jaime Munguia versus Edgar Berlanga? What's your thoughts on it? Because I mean, I don't count down Jaime Munguia off. I mean, loss is a loss. He accepted that. Maybe he did a mistake, like I was just saying. He rushed so much in order to make come out, Bruno. But hey, and I always said it in boxing, nothing, it's nothing is reading until that fight happens. So what's your thoughts when
Exactly.
if you get to if he in the future on 2025 we might get to see Jaime Munguia versus Edgar Berlanga?
Well, I see that Mejia has very good features when it comes to boxing. I think that this knockout was lack of concentration and also a lot of self confidence, probably too much. But I think that it would be a good match to see Puerto Rico against Mexico, and it will sell. That's for sure. That's a fight that I would like to see. And as I mentioned, he has the features. He just needs to keep training and study the opponent. But yeah, this time I think that he underestimated the rival.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I can tell you right now, Mr. Bruno Surase, has the ticket in order to challenge any of those fighters, as I just mentioned, Edgar Berlanga, Caleb Plant, Mr. McCumby, and anyone that is on the 168 division, including, hey, the king of that division, Canelo Alvarez, because right now everything is like on like on question mark, like what's next for Canelo, because eventually everyone wants to see David Benavidez Canelo, but I don't see that happening really,
No,
fast.
neither do I.
What's your thoughts that right now in social media is running that Terence Crawford wants to challenge Canelo Alvarez?
Oh, that's a fight that for sure I want to see. I think that it will be a huge lesson for all boxers because both are very strong fighters. Crawford has very tough punches, very good timing, and Canelo has an amazing defense. So it will be quite interesting.
To me, I mean, it will be also an interesting fight, but in excuse me, in my opinion, I feel like the advantage is on Canelo Alvarez. I always said it with respect. I know Terence Crawford pound for pound, in his weight class division champion and everything like that, but I always said it, there are weight classes for a reason. So jump up to one. I mean, we all know that Terence Crawford 147 went to 154. Facing Israel Madrimov, and became a champion in that division, WBA champion. But going into 168, that's another division. And then the question to me, it's like, does the power is there? Does the speed is there? Because facing Canelo is something else. Is an elite fighter that he knows what he's doing. And of course, I'm not saying that Terence Crawford is not an elite fighter. Of course he is, but the question is, will the power it will be there? Can he carry the power in order to hurt Canelo? That will be awesome and
Well,
interesting to see if that fight will happen, and how it's gonna go. But eventually time will speak, and we'll see what other things will come in 2025 year. That this is the beginning, and it's exciting because so many fights are right there, and at the door. Right here in New York City, we're coming with another great match that eventually people talking about that there was probably is not gonna happen. It's gonna happen, but Mr. LRB says, we'll see you in Barclays and March 1st, Barclays Center. Gervonta Tank Davis against Lamont Roach. What's your thoughts on Lamont Roach, Gervonta Tank Davis? That eventually Gervonta Tank Davis mentioned in one of the conference that probably that's gonna be his last year. Finishing this year, and he retired from boxing. I don't know if he's saying that because he literally wants to retire, or just because maybe he wants to call attention, or I don't know what's going on. But what's your thoughts on it, on this fight?
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the second fighter, but I follow Gervonta, of course, and I think that he has achieved uh, good things in boxing. But I don't see him retiring this year. I think that he has a long way to to continue in this boxing path, and I wouldn't like to see Gervonta Davis retire. That's
Mm,
that's what I can say regarding this
me
question.
neither, because hey, so many great fights that eventually, I know some they've been talking a little bit kind of strong in language between Shakur Stevenson, that people might say that they can he can defeat Gervonta Tank Davis. Um, there are also great fights that eventually Teofimo Lopez can make that fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. All these fighters, even Ryan Garcia and all these fighters, and Jose Valenzuela and all these fighters, hopefully that those fights can make it happen, but only the time will speak. And first thing first, we had to see if he March 1st, Gervonta Tank Davis surpass, Lamont Roach, because Lamont Roach says, I'm totally confident that I'm gonna, bring the first loss on Gervonta Tank Davis. We will have to see, March 1st at Barclays Center, when this fight happens. And after that, we'll see if he, like I said, Gervonta Tank Davis will continue in the fight. That even though, Lamont Roach says that there's a close as a rematch, whoever loses that fight. So will it
Yeah,
happen? Only the time will speak. But hopefully, this fight can happen. I would be a little bit sad if I see Gervonta Tank Davis also, retire from boxing early. But also I understand, because he mentioned in the interview that he wants to dedicate the time for his daughters and everything like that, and it's understandable. The sport of boxing, for many of you, I know it drains so much time, and so many things that sometimes you ladies and guys as a fighters don't spend time with their family. So, and I think, if he Gervonta makes that decision in order to say, that's it, I gave, my time to the sport of boxing, now is for my family, is respectful too. But when it comes to boxing, when is your next fight? Because I'm pretty sure, you want to continue making and adding wins in your career. When it will be the next fight that you will have in your career?
well, it's coming soon. The first week of February, or maybe the second week in February. We're still negotiating because there are too many clauses that must be settled. But once I have the exact date, of course, I will let you know.
That'd be
So stay
awesome.
tuned.
That'd be awesome to hear that, and of course we will stay tuned, and we will check, on you, and for everyone that eventually will continue, you know, watching interviews and all of that. I want to thank yourself and everyone that will tune in this interview, and of course, we don't want to miss, fights like yourself and most fighters, that eventually continue rising up and everything like that, because there's so many women's out there that eventually they just, you don't even know, right now. I'll be honest, I don't know the whole, world, like so many women's and men's also, they rising up, they trying to get in, fights and all of that, and I think they're making their names known in the sport of boxing, and you are one of them. So I'm pretty sure, you're gonna bring excitement in your next fight, and I wish you nothing but the best, good starting with the 2025 year. So nothing. I would say, I don't say goodbye to you, but eventually, in order to conclude with this interview, before we wrap it up, what's the message that you would like to send the fight fans, friends, and family, and everyone that supports women's boxing, and of course, the whole entire boxing community?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for supporting me, because these kind of interviews help us to launch our career, for all those boxers that we are starting in this beautiful boxing path. And to all the fans, family, friends, and everyone who is supporting me, thank you. As I always say, my punches are charged with that good vibes, with those good vibes. All the energy, all the messages are inspiring, and you all are my motivation to keep the good work.
Awesome. So we will stay tuned in your career. We will stay tuned in women's boxing and what else is coming in ahead. When it comes to your career and every boxer that we will track. Every boxer from let's say from an example from Mexico and other places because I like to give my task in order to search. Something a little bit from one place to another and from my behalf, I want to say thank you in order to have you over here in this interview. And I don't say goodbye because I'm pretty sure if the time is right and you have time for me and time for these five fans, we will speak in another interview. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Totally.
Ladies and gentlemen, with us, Teresa Ramos with us. Thank you.